Gamers, as you guys know, we always record the episode early, and what does that mean? Every now and then, big news drops. Actually forgot the JoJo announcement was happening. I thought it happened already, and we didn't get Stone Ocean announced. But then you reminded me the other night. It's like, oh no, it's still happening tonight. And I was like, oh shit, okay. So we get this stream, and it's just like a panel at a con, I guess. From the stuff I saw on Twitter, all the voice actors are there, and they're just shooting the shit, ad-libbing stuff. And then finally at the very end, we got the trailer for Stone Ocean.
I think the trailer was pretty nice. I was streaming, and right when I got off stream, I saw on Twitter that it was trending, and I was like, oh shit, that is tonight. So I let you guys know. And honestly, just the way that it was dropped, right? It was called JoJo the Animation event. And I'm like, dude, okay, you're pulling out something. You're pulling out Stone Ocean. You're probably going to pull out maybe Steel Ball One if you're not going to do part 6, but you're definitely going to do part 6. And it's been a couple years, and I think they did the same thing with part 5 as well. They gave like a 2 or 3 year gap between Diamond is Unbreakable.
Yeah, I think it was 3 years.
I think it's been about 3 years too since part 5 finished.
Oh yeah, it finished airing 2019. Yeah, it's been like 2 years.
I'm ready, dude. I've been ready. I just want to see how everyone should have read part 6 by now, so this really isn't spoilers. If you haven't, I don't know what you're doing. Go spend your day reading part 6. Do it now. It's all in color. You'll have a great time. But the ending, I want to see how they do that. I really want to see how they animate that, because that's going to be fucking beautiful.
Part 6 is great. It's one of my favorites, and I think it's not as well received as I would hope it would be. But I think Jolene's great. I think they have a solid cast. A lot of cool and interesting stands. And, with Pucci coming in as the main villain, he does some interesting stuff there too. It's really fun. And yeah, like you said, it's all in color. And I was thinking last night after the reveal, I'm like, man, I kind of want to reread part 6. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I really want to at this point. It's been a while since I've read part 6. It's been a while since I've read JoJo in general. Maybe this will hop me right back into JoJolian. But there's so much really good stuff in part 6, and Jolene's just a really great character. And also, the other thing we had to consider is that this is the last story before we get the reset.
Yeah, this was the definitive end for JoJo when it came out at the time. I know you said it earlier, everybody wants to see part 7 animated, but I don't know if it'll be David Productions. I mainly go off of the first intro for Phantom Blood. And it's that shot of all the manga panels in motion, and it just goes from, Phantom Blood to Stone Ocean. And It's like, yeah, that's a good place to end JoJo, which, of course, Steel Ball Run wasn't JoJo until Araki was like, fine, you guys want this as part 7, it'll be part 7. But I'm excited, and we see here, much like with Jotaro in part 3, we're getting the black color scheme for Jolene's outfit, which I think it's fine. It makes sense that they go with this one, considering Jotaro's was black, and this is his daughter. And this is just the default, right? They mix the colors a lot, since Stardust Crusaders anyways. Araki's whole idea was, well, there's not really an official color for these characters. He'll just color them how he wants. But, of course, he had to pick a default one, just for the sake of it. So we're probably going to see the blue and green iconic colors eventually. We're going to see all the other wild ones that he throws in there too, like when I think there's one where she has like blue and pink hair.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, in the trailer it shows off each JoJo going from part 1 to 6. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I always forget, right when we see Josuke's face, I was like, oh yeah, the flat noses, how could I forget? Just the way like on the ridge of their nose, how it's drawn, and then just looking at Jolene's face, and I'm like, yeah, that's Araki's new art style for sure. And I don't think I've ever mentioned on the show, but I'm not a big fan of how the nose looks. It just looks really flat to me. It throws it off.
It's never really bothered me too much. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's different, and I just grew accustomed to it.
I think it fits more with the manga art, because just looking at Jolene and how clean it looks, and they are trying to go with Araki style, but they're also going with their own that's similar to what the anime has been doing. So maybe that's where it's throwing it off for me. Because this, like, towards the end of part 6, that's like Steel Ball Run and JoJolian art style. Just the way he draws all their faces and all that. And I'm not kind of see it here, but then also it's like, oh, the anime effect too. But cool, man. At the end of the teaser trailer here, of course, we get Jolene saying yada yada dawa. And I was like, oh, great. You know, and we saw the voice actress on stage. And just her saying the yada yada part, I was like, oh, she's going to do a great job.
Yeah, and there was some really nice tidbits that they announced with the voice actors. I guess she's been a fan of JoJo, and what got her into voice acting in the first place was Stone Ocean. So, I mean, that kind of stuff
nice.
is always really, really nice to hear. It's like, dude, you know what? You're a fan. You've been a fan. You know what you want to do for the character. Probably have like rehearsed things in your private time, like, oh, dude, what if? Kind of like what Kira's always done. And I just can't wait. I think it's going to be really, really good. I think they're going to do a great job. Like they've done a great job with every single adaptation for all of JoJo.
And of course, the one thing I'm thinking of is, oh boy, what are they going to do when they're at the end of towards the end of the series? And, not to spoil stuff, but when certain IPs from the West, come to life. You know what I'm talking about? Like, yo, wait, where's this guy at? I wonder how they're going to tackle that in the show.
Dude, I also wonder how they're going to do, if they're going to do it, where Anasui is actually a woman, and then turns into a man. I always forget about that until Miguel had told me like a long time ago. He goes, that was a girl. I was like, huh? Mm-hmm. Hold on. And I went back. I'm like, oh, that's right.
Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say they're going to keep it. Because it's not like Anasui had dialogue or anything. It was more of a background character.
Mm-hmm.
It could just be one of those things where Araki drew a background character and was like, you know what, I like that design, but it's gotta be a guy so he can ask Jotaro the question.
Right.
So it could be that, or he could, it could be just Araki forgets, because he tends to forget some things.
I mean, honestly, there's just so many cool stands at the end of the day for Part 6 that I just can't wait to see how they do that. Like, we got Kiss. Obviously, Stone Ocean is a great one. Weather Report, burning down the house with Imperio. Like, there's just so many great stands in here that it's going to be really, really cool to see.
Yeah, I really want to see how they're going to do Diver Down with the effects, too.
Oh, yeah.
Grateful Dead, when he pops up. Of course, Poochie stands and its many evolutions that happen. That's going to be wild to see.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've always meant to go and watch the other parts, but because I've read them, it's always like, oh, well, I've already read it. Like, I kind of don't want to double track right now. I never had the feeling to, but from what I remember with how the stand battles looked, I'm like, no, they're doing a good job.
A really good part that showcases how well they did it would be Part 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything with King Crimson was phenomenal. The stuff they did with Sticky Fingers was great. GER was so good when I finally saw it. Like, I definitely went back and watched certain episodes when they did drop just to see those stand battles and see exactly how they pulled it off. And, I mean, David Productions just knows what they want. They know how to do it.
It's going to be a good time, and it's slated for this year. I'm guessing probably around October. That's when they usually release the show. Well, right on, guys. We just had to come back real quick and talk about that because, we're big fans of JoJo here. And it's like, we can't wait another week to bring this up on the podcast again. So,
hell no. We got to do this the day of.
Yes, sir. So, right on, gamers, let's go back to the regular podcast. We're going to start this off right, man. Real fast, real hard. Twitter getting horny again because we got that gameplay for Resident Evil Village. I think this is going to be the demo that we play when it comes out for PS4 and PS5. And it's, it's standard Resident Evil gameplay.
Oh, is this the one where she throws the vanity or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw that little snippet, but I think I found the actual video right here. I'm just going to scrub through it real quick. Oh, yeah, this looks nice. Heck yeah, dude. I'm all for it. I mean, this comes out, next month?
Yeah, we're a little bit over a month away. We finally got some more info for Man-Eater's DLC that they teased a few months back. And they said it's going to be released this summer, and it's called Truth Quest. And the thumbnail that they picked is great. It's a giant hammerhead shark shooting what looks like a gamma ray out of its mouth on like an Illuminati ship or something. And it says like they're going through like conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff that's on the internet. So I'm like, oh, okay, so they're just going to embrace the wackiness. With the DLC, yeah, there's going to be a level increase, which means you're going to get one more growth size. New armor sets basically are going to be coming in here. Hey, there were some rumors over in Korea. They got some listings for PS4 games, and one of the titles is Virtual Fighter 5 Ultimate.
Dude, I saw that. That looks, if that's legit, big hype, honestly.
If I'm not mistaken, Judgment, they have a Virtual Fighter game that you could play in the arcade, and I'm pretty sure it's Virtual Fighter 5 Ultimate. There's enough love to get that ported.
I hope so, dude. I mean, we haven't seen a Virtual Fighter in a really long time.
I think it's a good time now since DOA's kind of, in the shitter.
Right.
Which, it sucks to say, but...
It is what it is.
Yeah, and then plus, remember, they did tease the Virtual Fighter esports. Which was, last year already? We got a bunch of trailers over for Netflix and HBO. We got the trailer for Yasuke. That's going to be the anime based off the Black Samurai Yasuke that worked under Nobunaga.
I'm excited for that.
And now my only thing is, am I going to watch the English, or is there going to be a Japanese dub as well? Because I wonder how that's going to sound like.
It looks like it's getting a lot of love.
Yeah, and that's premiering April 29th. It looks great, too. The animation's solid. Some of the shots are just like, oh, this looks like it's from Neo, because you got demonic energy and Nobunaga's castle surrounded by a bunch of anime bullshit.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. That's what we like to see, all that anime bullshit.
Heck yeah. And of course, it's from Studio Mappa, and they've done great work.
Dude, Mappa never ceases to amaze me. I'll tell you that much.
And then I think it was today we got a full trailer for Record of Ragnarok. This was a manga series I talked about not that long ago on the manga reviews. And it's just basically a tournament manga about humans fighting gods. And it's pretty much like the all-star teams. And when I say gods, it's like all the gods, kind of like in God of High School, how all these religions and stuff are mixed together. So you got people like Zeus, and then you have Odin there, you have Buddha. Based off of what we saw in the trailer, it's like the first 4 fights, which is crazy because where it's at right now in the manga is only on the 5th one. Fights are great, the animation's looking solid here. Let's just say there's some big baps in the series. Whoa! And it looks like they're keeping the scale. That's coming out June of this year. And yeah, I like the series. They do stuff different with the gods, kind of like how well, you're not even there yet, but we do see some more characters in God of High School, and they're not what you would expect. And it's the same in here with the gods. Like Zeus is a definite one where you're just like, yo, this guy's fucking. And then we got a trailer for Space Jam finally.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's good, man. Yeah, Space Jam: A New Legacy is called. And it's starring LeBron, and I don't know your thoughts, but I remember when they announced LeBron, or everybody assumed it was going to be LeBron. And I'm like, I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I don't really care. I mean, it makes more sense now because he's the hottest thing. They call him King James and all that.
Yeah, okay. Look, man, let me give you some. Hold on. I'm going to get really loud, so I had to close the window. Hold on. All right, dude. Let me spit you some facts right here. When your boy was real young, dude, and I watched this movie for the first time, I was like, yo, this thing is sick. You're mixing like 3D and 2D together, and this is really cool. This is a really great idea. The story's it's fun. It's a good time, Nothing crazy going on. And just leave it that way. You don't have to reboot everything. You don't have to remaster everything. You could just leave it the way that it is and be like, all right, cool. If so, where's my Shazam, bro? I'm not Shazam, fucking that Shaq movie where he's a genie.
Kazam?
Oh, Kazam, there you go. Bring that back, and then have fucking Shaq do it again. And I don't know, man. There's just certain things that I just feel are not going to do well when they come back or when they try and reiterate it. And this one, everything I kept hearing about Space Jam 2 or Space Jam reboot, I'm just not a fan. It doesn't look appealing to me. And that's probably why I haven't seen the trailer yet. Yeah, it's a high bar that the first Space Jam set. It's in that era of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right? Where it's like, man, this is how you bring animated stuff into the real world. Yeah, and then you have all the fun elements where you're breaking the fourth wall, you're doing all that crazy wonky stuff that cartoons do or did in that time because it's very few and far between now, except for Gumball. But it's it's just that quality of life is not present in modern cartoons anymore. And you trying to adapt that into a film which again, the bar is high, like you said, but it's not. I feel like there's a lot of effort being put into the story writing when the story is shit, and then you got to make the animation good, right? Like I think the only good reboot remaster I've seen in a while that's notable is the Animaniacs. Like that, they did a great job. They did exactly how it should have been done, but I don't feel the hype for Space Jam 2. I probably won't see the trailer, and I'll probably watch clips of the movie when it actually comes out, like on Twitter or something. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're also kind of doing this thing where it's like, we have to make it bigger and better. In the trailer, I'm like, I don't understand why they're doing this. If you remember in the original Space Jam, like there's that one shot of the camera panning to the stadium, and you see all the traffic, and like you see all of these characters from the Looney Tunes franchise, right? And they pull the same thing off here in this trailer, except, oh hey, didn't people like that movie? I don't even remember what it's called, Ready Player One, where you get to see all these iconic IPs in one thing. Let's do the same thing here. And so there's just a shot of, like, you see the Mystery Machine, you see Kong, the Flintstones, you just see all this stuff HBO or Warner Brothers has, and I'm like, why? This is weird. Like, we're talking about Looney Tunes. We're not talking about all this other stuff that could just be in there for cameos.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there's a shot of LeBron James going through like all these planets. I guess that's part of the HBO universe, and like you just see like one section says like Game of Thrones and like a bunch of other stuff. The plot's pretty lame, I think. It's LeBron and like his son in the movie, like they're just having bickering problems. He's like, son, you gotta be basketball man, because that's me. And he's like, I don't want to be basketball man, I want to be me. And he gets off on the wrong floor of their mansion or wherever they are, and then he gets sucked into the digital world, and then Don Cheadle's like the big bad, and he's like, you want your son back? You're gonna have to play me in basketball.
Our daily word of the Don Cheadle is the big bad? Stop. No, I'm checked out, bro. Stop. Get me out of here. Don't plug me in, dude. Look, it's like I said offline. I'll stay underneath my rock. I don't need to get out for this one.
We're going through some of the same beats as the first one, where it's like, oh, we're seeing the Looney Tunes characters practice basketball as if they've never played before. So I'm like, this is essentially a reboot. We don't have to go through those beats again.
Right. See, now what they could have done is been like, he finds some way to get to the digital world and find some Digimon, right? He finds the tunes, and they're playing basketball like, oh, we haven't played this in so long. Like, this was really fun back in the day when we had a fucking Jordan in here. This was a good time. And then they brought in the same aliens from back in the day. And they're like, hey, we're here for a rematch.
Yeah.
We've been practicing for fucking eons. Like, we're ready to go. That would have been cool. Because then it's like, you don't have to set the stage up again. You don't have to bring in this whole new premise for it. Like, yeah, you're going to have your stuff with your new basketball player, whatever. That's standard, but if they kept everything else the same, that would have been sick. Then I would be more invested to check this out.
There's some cringe stuff in here too. There's a shot of LeBron trying to dunk. I'm pretty sure you've seen this, and I was like, no way, they really copied this meme. And it's the meme where the guy's dunking, and then you see the other guy just walking with his arms open, and it's like the Naruto meme where it's like Naruto and the Naruto shadow clone holding the Rasengan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that shot, and they recreated it in the movie, and I was like, why? It's like it's an old meme. Like, I like the meme, but with Naruto, not with LeBron.
Yeah, and I feel like, again, this is where the culture just kind of goes, it's like, oh, well, this meme is fresh, like, let's use it somewhere else. It's like, no, you don't have to do that.
It's like, you don't understand, memes die.
You don't got to do that. When we get into one of our other topics, I'll bring up the exact same thing I'm talking about.
The CG, I don't think they should have went CG with the Looney Tunes characters. I guess it's easier than 2D these days, but it just doesn't feel the same. And then the team they're fighting against is the most boring looking characters you could see in this entire movie. Like, they're not the Monstars, right? They're just like these like rejected designs for other shows, it looks like.
That's so bad, dude. Again, they could have taken a really good note from the way Animaniacs was done and then made it like that.
And that's coming out July 16th. Yeah, it almost feels like they're trying a little too hard for some of the stuff that they're doing in the movie, and I'm like, yeah, who cares?
Yeah, again,
it's like there was a specific charm with the original Space Jam. You know, like it's wacky in its own way, where it's just like, oh, these rejected aliens are pissed off at Looney Tunes. Let's go steal the energy from the top of the top in basketball players.
Exactly, dude. Like that idea works so well. You know, and there's even an episode in Animaniacs in the reboot where they kind of did the same thing. It was a character that appeared once in the whole series of old school Animaniacs, and he comes back and he's literally killing off all of the tunes. And at the end of it, they're like trying to figure like who could have done it. And then Wacko's like, oh wait, what about that one guy, that one tune who we only talked about once, who only had like one episode of Showtime, and he probably was really, really salty, and it was great. It worked out great. But this whole idea that they're doing, I'm okay.
Yeah, it's like one of those things that always disappoints me in films where it's like, you know, sequelitis. Where it's like, hey, people like this, let's go harder in the next film. And it's some of that here. It just feels like it's trying too hard. But man, let's talk about some good stuff, man. Let's go ahead, swing on over to what we've been doing, man. Highly recommend. The first 4 episodes are out for Invincible on Amazon Prime, and that's a great show.
Dude, so is that a comic?
Yeah, so Robert Kirkman back, I want to say the late 90s, did Invincible, and I believe that's over at, I think it's, Skybound Entertainment, which is, I think that's owned by Image, or they own Image. So this is his own universe of superheroes, and, you know, of course it takes a lot from mostly the DC stuff, right? They have like their own Justice League, and it's pretty clear of what these characters are. The main character, Mark, whose father is Omni-Man, which is basically Superman in this universe, but it's a different twist. Instead of crash landing on Earth, his species sets out to other planets and helps. And so when he was 18, he went to Earth, finding a wife, getting married, and then Mark is born. We explore the world of Invincible with like, there's like 2 stories going on. There's like this murder mystery stuff happening, and then we get to see Mark's life as a high schooler as he just got his powers, and we're seeing how those are slowly starting to crash into each other and how he has to find the balance for it. It's really good stuff. I've never read the comics, and I've heard things are changing, and Kirkman was on Kevin Smith's podcast a while back before it premiered. Well, yeah, you know, I wrote that almost 30 years ago. We could make it better now. So with him at the forefront, I think that's probably for the best. And I gotta say, like, I'm so into it. I want to start reading the comics now, but I think I want to wait until they're done with the show, because I don't want to get ahead and, you know, and then start thinking like, oh, so this is how they're changing it right now. It's a good balance of humor in here. The comedic timing is high quality. And boy, just like The Boys, it got more bloody than I was expecting.
Heck yeah.
And it's animated too, so you know it's more in your face because they have to draw those parts specifically. And my biggest surprise for the show is that each episode is about 45 minutes.
Oh, that's a really good length.
It's crazy because it's an animated show. I was not expecting it. Like, if this was on normal cable, that's an hour-long show, you know, when you put in the commercials. So kudos to Amazon for kicking that much money into this show. And you know what? It's paying off. Yeah, a lot of solid characters, so I highly recommend checking it out. It's either 8 or 10 episodes. My only real gripe with the show is the way they do the title card. Mark, the main character, his superhero name is Invincible. After he established that's his name, whenever the opening scene is talking about Mark specifically, and he says, oh, don't worry, and then it cuts immediately to the title screen and says Invincible. But other than that, it's a really solid show. All right, we've both seen it. Just got released on HBO Max last week. Godzilla vs. Kong. Let's dive into here, and this is going to be a spoiler talk, so check the timestamp in the description. And big hype for this movie. It's a 2-hour film, and I thought it was all right.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it at all right. I watched the second half of it with my dad, so pretty much like right when they're on the ocean and Kong and Godzilla have their first battle, all the way to the end. So then last night when I rewatched it with Jerry, I actually saw the beginning, and man, I literally told him, I was like, I feel like starting from that point was fine.
Mhm.
This, because starting from the beginning, I mean, this has been the same thing that I felt for the last few kaiju movies, is that the human parts they're just not for me. You know,
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of them. You know, I know we have to have them there, but I've never enjoyed them. I feel like in this one they tried to do a lot of jokes, a lot of corny humor, which some of it was fine.
Yeah.
You know, like it works out well, but other parts I'm like, I don't know. Oh, dude, and you'd probably know this. So the kid Josh, he was the Deadpool kid, right?
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
It's interesting for the human stuff in the movie because I saw a lot of people praise it, like, yeah, they dialed it back so we could get more monster stuff. Like you said earlier, like I understand why it has to be there, and if it's gonna be there, make it watchable at least. The stuff in Godzilla King of the Monsters, like some of that plot stuff was dumb, but at least it was just enough to be like, oh, okay, this is all right. We have Tywin Lannister being a generic anime villain. That's at least something.
Yep.
It just feels very bland. And with Millie Bobby Brown, being the forefront of the human plot, it just wasn't good enough for me because it's just like, I'm an angsty teen that was in the last movie. How do I help Godzilla? Oh, let me go talk to this crazy guy that has a podcast, and then we're gonna get shipped to China on accident, and that's it. I mean,
Yeah, I feel like if that was their premise to make her be this forefront, why not? I'm fine with it. But with the stuff that we got with her, I'm like, I don't really feel it. I don't see it there. Like, I personally felt that having Gia, the deaf girl, for Kong, I like that a lot more.
mm-hmm.
All for it. Like when I kind of figured out that, like, oh, she's been teaching Kong sign language, I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, logically, that works out perfectly well because that's real science. Like I see it. I get it. I did not even pick up on the fact that they wanted to make her, Millie Bobby Brown, be like the forefront of it because there was just so much less of her in the film for me. And then I don't know if you caught it the first time, but I caught it obviously because I didn't see the scene, in the beginning. But when she gets in the car with homeboy Josh, dude from Deadpool, there's that like really retro BGM that plays. And I told Jared, I was like, bro, they really had to give her a Stranger Things like BGM track. Like
I think that's why they picked her for the previous movie because, like, look at her notoriety, right? She's from Stranger Things. Everyone loves her in Stranger Things, especially in the latter seasons that are out. At least the quote unquote villain for the movie was, very video gamey.
Oh, dude, did you? Okay, so this is what I was talking about earlier when I said I would bring up the whole concept of like using memes and in common culture. I picked it up the first time, but the second time it was even better for me. So when he tells the guy to get in the Mecha Godzilla, I'm like, dude, that's literally Eva. This guy's clearly an Evangelion fan.
Yeah.
I was dying. And I didn't have to say anything, but Jared, the moment the guy said the line, Jared was like, bro, are you serious? I was like, yeah, man. It's pretty great.
It's so funny to me that they said they kept calling it a mech. And I'm like, that's oddly specific. Like, it's almost a little forced, I think, because, it's like, oh my god, Robot Godzilla. It's like, no, Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah, dude,
what?
That's what I was talking about. There's some really good corn in here. Some really good corny stuff, and it works. It works just fine. I didn't have to see that. I didn't have to see it, but I'm okay with it. It is what it is.
Design's all right. It's a very modern look for Mecha Godzilla.
I did like some of the stuff that he could do. So like his booster kicks, his booster punches, that was pretty nice. Like the rockets and like the shoulders and like all the weird spots, that was pretty cool. It just gets so anime with the fight, especially when Kong gets in there. It's like, oh, dude, we gotta do this. We're gonna hold him like that. Like, dude, okay, Goku Vegeta beating fucking Janemba or like anybody, like that's fine. Whatever, I'll take
Cooler.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, the best parts of this film is the fights. They're pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. The second Kong and Godzilla fight, like when they're in China.
Oh, dude, that shit was so good.
That stuff was fire. Like it got really anime.
Dude, and then when he's hiding on top of the building, like, dude, I'm about to get this guy with the fade. Just dude. I was like, Kong, you playing so dirty, but I loved it. It was good.
I think my favorite part for this film was that this is more a story about Kong rather than Godzilla.
Yeah,
which
I agree.
Which I think is the route they had to go because all the trailers and even part of this plot is it's making it feel like Godzilla's the villain. And I think that's the only way you kind of do it, because at the end of the last movie, Godzilla rises up as the hero.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you think like, well, if Godzilla's the good guy, why would he fight Kong? Because we know Kong's also a good guy in Kong Skull Island. And then so having him portray it as just like, nah, bro, I'm top dog. No one else is going to be top dog around here. I don't think so.
Yeah, and then the fact that they go back to that concept of like, oh, there's two kings, no one's gonna bow down to each other. It's like, all right, dude, I see where you're going with it. I'm okay with it. It makes a lot of sense for the story.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, exploring the stuff with Kong, I think, you know, like giving his character closure for this universe, I think was good. Because, you know, once we enter the Hollow Earth stuff and then seeing all the things where it looks like Kong's race was the rulers is kind of the vibe I got. And maybe that's why Godzilla was like, oh, no, forget this guy. I don't want another relapse of this shit.
Right. And that's exactly what I got too. You know, especially since the axe was there. It was made from a scale. You know, and then even in the throne room, I mean, we see two of them. So before Kong gets to the throne where he has his big old, like, I can touch the sky moment, you know, he's touching the big monkey hand that's been formed. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And then when we get to the throne room and everything's going to shit, you know, we do see the statue of the gorilla, like, right there in the back that falls down. And Kong catches that and he's like, dog, I just got home and you're going to break my furniture. Like, bro, come on, man.
You know, it's crazy. The movie makes you really feel for Kong. You know, like we get those sad moments with him when he's in that throne room and like he's starting to get the realization that he truly is alone. Like he is the last one of his race. Just seeing it all crumble down when Godzilla shoots his atomic breath straight down there. It's like, oh man, now Kong's pissed. It's like, okay, now we're really rooting for him.
Yeah, and just everything with Gia, too. I was like, all right, dude, this is great. Like, I really appreciate this character just for what she's doing, you know? And as we know, like, even in the old school ones, Kong was always for the girl. There was always a girl that kind of, like, helped drive him to do what he had to do or, like, wanted to do. And just all those scenes with her and just her emotional, like, acting that she put into it, being a deaf girl, I was like, dude, this is really good. Like, this kid did a really good job.
We should have definitely got a lot more of that stuff for the human plot. Because I think in King of the Monsters, they teased like some of the old stuff from the previous movies. I think it was like the twins that work with Mothra. Yeah, we could have gotten a lot more of that stuff instead of just what I thought was going to be a romantic subplot with the actor that plays Tarzan, the girl that takes care of Gia, you know, but that literally went nowhere. And I was like, this is just a waste of time.
Yeah, because it kind of gives you the idea, like it sets it up and it doesn't deliver. Although I did like what he did in this movie, the actor for Tarzan. It took me a while to figure out where I last saw him in.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, he looks familiar. I looked up his name and I'm like, oh, okay, I know this guy. Yeah, but just underutilized. That's the most disappointing thing. After watching the movie, and I was like, so that was a 2-hour movie, huh? If I had to be honest, you could probably cut that down to an hour.
Yeah, or even an hour and a half, honestly. You could speed up the human parts, like cut out a lot of that. Just give us this, you know, whatever we got for the fights, maybe even a little bit more.
So I think if you're a fan of the universe, I think it's an all right movie to check out.
Yeah, I think just keep in the back of your mind the way that the human portions have gone for the last few kaiju movies, and you'll be fine. Like you can easily step away when you see them on the screen to go do whatever you need to do, and then come back, and you'll be all right.
No, the question is what's next. Just hope they get more ridiculous with who's showing up that Godzilla has to fight, or even Kong. You know, if Kong's gonna come back with some cameo stuff, that'd be fun.
Well, I mean, they have the whole Hollow Earth to explore now at this point, you know, so we can easily see something go on there.
I guess they kind of teased. It wasn't really Gamera, but it was a monster that kind of looked like him, right?
I mean, they could also always bring back Ghidorah. You know, they only showed us the one head, so where's the other two?
Yeah, well, one of the post-credit scenes in King of the Monsters was teasing Mecha Ghidorah, right?
Dude, I ran through those credit scenes. Was there actually an after credits one?
Yeah, it was with Tyrion Lannister. He bought they found one of the heads, and it's just like, oh, I wonder what they're gonna do with this. It's not Rodan. Who am I thinking of? The freaking Edgelord.
No, because Rodan came out in King of the Monsters, I think.
Yeah, what's the one with the mohawk? You know which one I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name
Can't
though.
remember his name. I want to see him and seeing how they're gonna do his design. One thing I will say too is the way they tackled Mecha Godzilla in this movie was more interesting than I thought.
Yeah, I really liked the reveal for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reveal was really nice. It was very, very different. Oh, you're thinking of Gigan.
Gigan, yeah.
I was telling Jerry when we were watching it, I was like, dude, that reveal is really cool. You know, I mean, obviously we know who it is at this point, but it's just really, really cool.
Yeah, I don't think I haven't really seen a whole lot of the Godzilla movies from the franchise, but I don't think they've tackled it like that for Mecha Godzilla, right, where it gets taken over. Before going into the movie, I knew, I'm like, okay, they're gonna fight, sure, but it's gonna get to the point where it's like, oh, they're gonna fight something else and team up. Like that's always the idea for this, and just to see it implemented it like this, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I respect that they did it like that.
Yeah, and I think the other piece of it that really got me engaged for the 2-on-1 was having Gia go to Kong when he's like coming back to life, and she goes, he's not your enemy, and he goes, no, fuck, fuck you, stupid kids, he's like, this dude, we just fought this dude, like, nah, man. And then she's like, no, that's the one. And then it just pans over to Godzilla getting smacked down in the knee to the chest. It's like, ooh. I was like, and then Kong's like, oh, damn. Yeah, I guess my boy does need some help. And then him just like, we have to remember that Kong has learned a lot in his life. Like, remember, the monkey brain gets out there, and him just like putting his shoulder back into place is like, ooh, oh, I was like hype. I was ready for it.
Yeah, that's one thing I liked a lot with Kong too, is like when we first see him, I was like, dang, man, my boy got old.
Yep.
Last time we saw him was the late 70s in Skull Island, and just to see him here now, I was like, man,
that was one thing I was trying to keep in thought in my head. Like, yeah, Kong is old, dude. Like, I couldn't remember the timeline for Skull Island, but I knew from between that and this one, it's a long time.
So like, there's good stuff in here. It's just, it's not, it's bits and pieces. It's not the entire film, which is, it is what it is. It makes me want to go back and watch the original, or the 2014 Godzilla with Bryan Cranston and Aaron Taylor Johnson, because, the biggest complaint for that film was the human stuff and not enough Godzilla fighting those monsters. And I'm curious to go back and try to remember if it really was that bad with the human plot. If their answer is to pull back and leave nothing, and it turns out it wasn't that bad in 2014, then, maybe there's some crossover that needs to be readjusted with that or something. But other than that, Disney Plus, Falcon Winter Soldier's out. I don't think we really talked about it here. But
we don't gotta talk about it, dude. It's okay.
No, we don't have to talk about it. That's true. There's 3 episodes are out, so that means we're halfway into the show.
Oh, is it only 6?
Only 6 episodes, yeah.
Good. I just don't like the show, personally. I watched the first 2 episodes, and I don't know, man. Like, I think seeing Falcon and Winter Soldier on screen is nice, right? Don't get me wrong. I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not feeling...
Yeah, I thought the first episode was gonna set up stuff, and it's like, oh, clearly we're going through Sam and Bucky's individual stories, and then they're gonna have to team up, but we're still gonna be exploring those stories.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not doing that at all. Not a whole lot. Like there is some stuff sprinkled here and there in episode 2, but it's not the driving force of the show. We're attacking this generic, I mean, I wouldn't say terrorist group, because, they're trying to help refugees, and like their ideals are just making like, oh, we want a world without borders. What are you talking about? Like their idea is that the world was better before people came back from the snap. The people that came back from the 5-year time skip are getting more attention than the people that have been here for 5 years that still need help. And it's like, so we're just going to go steal supplies and help them. I mean, I don't even think that's a big enough deal for these guys to tackle. But then, of course, we get the answer to that. I think it was in episode 2. It's just whatever. The thing that's really taking me out is the banter with Bucky and Sam. It feels so forced, and they get out of character during those moments. And you know, I said it on Marvel Talk, like I understand why they're doing that. It's because people love that in Civil War. But that's the problem though with doing things like that. Like they're fun bits, but at the end of the day, it's a bit.
Exactly.
So and then I saw episode 3, and it's just more or less the same stuff. Some surprises I wasn't expecting. That's expanding more of the MCU. I thought that was cool, and hopefully they utilize it in elsewhere. They go to a location where I thought I wasn't expecting to see, honestly, at least not until we got, I don't know, a Wolverine movie or 3.
That's where I thought Homeboy was at. That's honestly, I had a feeling at the end of the second episode. I'm like, we're probably going to go to this area. You know, you telling me this, that makes sense. I saw it coming.
And then, you know, we get Zemo in episode 3, and I will say I was not expecting them to go this route with how he breaks out of jail and what he's doing in the show, but it's interesting enough to see where it leads at the end of the show, because what are we going to do with Zemo at the end? Right? What's his lead up to the future of the MCU? So that's what I'm curious for, but it's honestly like not an enjoyable time. So I am glad it's ending at 6 episodes. Let's go back to something that we actually like. That's in a series. Yakuza. It's our weekly update here, and I think you told me you started 3.
Yeah, I started 3. I'm just on chapter 2 right now because I had a late night the other day and I need to go to sleep. But I like the opening stuff with Majima. I think that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing older Daigo. You know, and he's not such a piece of shit anymore.
He's not an e-punk.
Yeah. I'm not gonna name drop of the other character, but when I saw him, I was like, okay, this is where we're gonna go. Like, this is how you want to do this. So now I just kind of want to see how it unfolds. But I'm keeping in mind what you told me before, that it's not until like chapter 5 where like we actually go back to the story. I do like the idea that Kiryu has left to start his own orphanage. I think that's really great.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the right timeline for him to do that. So like there's a lot of things I like. There's a couple things I'm not sure how I feel about. The gameplay, it's just so stiff, man. Like, I know it's a PS3 game, but it's like, God, dude, going from Kiwami 2 to this, it's a little daunting. And like I say this every time, you say it every time, dude. Just keep the leveling up the same, man. Like, I was trying to figure it out when I got to that point, and I'm like, I just have 3 options.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things with a video game franchise where it's like we have to keep the UI fresh every time.
I totally get it. I'm gonna give it some more time. Hopefully gonna play some more tomorrow or later the next week. Once you told me you got to 4 and I heard you play that one song I really wanted to listen to in the karaoke, I was like, all right, dude, now I gotta go. Now I really gotta play this now.
Yeah, so all I did I played nothing but Yakuza. I mean, I haven't touched my PlayStation much, but that's all I did was go through Yakuza. I beat 3. Last I talked, I think it was chapter 8 I was on. Yeah, the story just really wasn't grabbing me. Main villain, I wasn't feeling... Well, I think, actually at the time, I didn't know who the main villain was because there were options. But then once we get the reveal of who it is, and I went through a couple of videos about Yakuza 3 because I'm like, maybe I'm missing the point of this game, and... Because I know in the shitpost group I'm in, I'm pretty sure it's more than positive reviews for the game, but I understood what these guys were saying in these reviews, and it's just, for me, it wasn't really catching. But I will say there is classic Yakuza stuff that we all enjoy that shows up at the end. Very wacky stuff, heart-to-heart moments, and classic Kiryu getting pissed off. Boy, when you have to hang out with the kids again, it's like, oh, we're putting the brakes. After we beat it, I was thinking, okay, like there were some things I get and some stuff that I was like, oh, this is Yakuza, so of course we're going to see this happen with this character. But I was kind of hoping we wouldn't get there in this game, that would carry on to 4 or 5. I mean, I think it was all right. The final fights were cool. Man, yeah, it gets pretty video gamey at the end with a character that shows up early on in the game, and then he comes back at the end as sort of a mid-boss for the last area. And that stuff is fun. Like, that's classic video game Yakuza things that we tend to enjoy here. So yeah, there's some stuff here, but overall it's just not enough for me to really enjoy the game. So that's just at the bottom of my list. I'm not saying it's a horrible game, but it's just, out of all the ones I played so far, I just rank it down. Right immediately after, I was like, you know what? I already have the disc in. We're starting Yakuza 4. And I think I'm on chapter 3 right now. It's got me interested. Not to really spoil much, but we're not starting the game off with Kiryu, which already caught my interest. I'm like, oh, okay, so at what point is he going to come into the plot? It's still the Kiryu saga. So I want to see how our characters are going to meet with each other, because it's still set in Kamurocho. Kiryu's not there. He's in Okinawa. So how are we going to get him in? I noticed was, wow, this game looks so much better than Yakuza 3. It's crazy because I don't know if you've seen it, but it feels flat in colors to me for Yakuza 3. Right, it almost feels a little faded in the colors because of it being an early gen PS3 game. But then here it's very colorful and everything looks a lot better. And it might be my favorite looking Yakuza game. I mean, like, I like Kiwami and Kiwami 2 how they look, but like I know with Kiwami 2 there's like they do a lot with the lighting and it's a little too much for me. And then here it's like it looks like they got it just right for this game. So I'm really enjoying that. The new playstyle you get with the new character is fun. The way the plot is shaping up, I'm starting to like, because we did get some reveals of, with the new faction coming in, and we're introduced to new characters for this game. Name drop some people that like, yeah, he's going to be a problem, or we're going to need him for this thing. And it's like, oh, finally, I want to see how this is going to play out, because I've been waiting for something like this with our side characters in Yakuza. Because like I mentioned before, it's like it's cool to see them pop up and, you know, catch up with Kiryu, but that's all they do. They don't really affect the plot that heavy. And if this is going the route where I think it's going, I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, everything else is just the same old Yakuza. You know, you go do your wacky stuff, karaoke. So I'll probably be playing a lot more of that this week, and eventually hop back on stream. I've been taking time off, mainly playing Yakuza, and I'd say that would go ahead and wrap us up for this week. Manga reviews as usual, still going through the webtoon stuff. New BFM dropped. We talked about Yakuza 0 more in depth, spoiler heavy. If you want to hear more of our thoughts without being vague, you can go ahead, swing on over there. And then due to scheduling, yeah, we had to delay Marvel Talk again, but it should be this week, if not early next week. And then when I do go back on stream, maybe Yakuza 4, for sure Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and that's twitch.tv/Negator7. Jerry, I know he's still going through his plat run for Spider-Man, and I believe he's still going through Batman, and that's twitch.tv/JerryOmega. And then, of course, Kingdom Hearts for Adam when he hops back on.
Yes, sir. That's twitch.tv/BamAdam. And by the time, while we're recording this, I think I'll be streaming later tonight, actually. So, should hopefully be finishing up Chain of Memories and going into my different game to kind of spice it up a little bit before I go back into Kingdom Hearts. And that's going to be a good time. Jerry got a sneak peek of what that's going to be, and I think it'll be pretty tasty.
All right, cool. So thanks, gamers, for swinging by this week. We're going to go ahead and catch you on the next episode.